I want to start off talking about stakes because we got a lot of comments after The Living Daylights about, well, guys, not every movie has to have big world-ending stakes. Listen, you can go back and watch the For Your Eyes Only episode where we specifically talked a lot about stakes. I said in that episode that I love the big stakes movies, but I prefer and really savor the small stakes stories like The Man with the Golden Gun and For Your Eyes Only. And now License to Kill is in that same category. And with Living Daylights, we weren't arguing that the stakes should have been bigger, simply that there should have been stakes full stop. There just weren't any stakes. So everybody thought we were saying that stakes weren't big enough. We were saying, no, there just weren't any at all. So that movie has no consequence for Bond's failure. Both Dalton movies, coincidentally, Bond destroys a shit ton of drugs. But here, the drug plot, and therefore the confusion as to why Bond would be involved with a drug plot like in Live and Let Die. With this, it's answered decisively by Bond's vendetta against Sanchez for killing Della and maiming Felix, obviously. The drugs mean nothing within this context other than they happen to be the bad guy's main occupation. They're secondary. Bond doesn't stab all those keys of cocaine because he wants to save the kids or something. He just wants to f*** up Sanchez and his operation, which all comes full circle when Hong Kong Narcotics gets pissed at him for messing up their infiltration of his network.
Hong Kong Narcotics, you bastard! Sanchez is taking us to the heart of his operations. I've been setting it up for years.
For them, it's about the drugs. For Bond, it's about Sanchez. And as Bouvier says,
there's more to this than your personal vendetta.
So he's just this chaotic force just trying to make himself feel better and avenge his buddy, and he's messing up normal drug busting and all that.
Leave it to the Americans. It's their mess. Let them clear it up.
Sir, they're not going to do anything.
I think my general issues, and this going back to what we talked about with Goldfinger.
Okay, pause. Just FYI, as usual, McCurdy is misspeaking. He means The Man with the Golden Gun, but whatever, he'll do it again.
Is this a Bond movie, or is this some other kind of movie?
Yeah.
And what it really boils down to is when you take a character and that character is known for a certain, what's the word I'm looking for? Jurisdiction. You expect a certain type of film where it plays in a certain realm. Not to say that this movie doesn't play with that realm, but it definitely takes some liberties with specifically putting the DEA in Felix's court and kind of pulling that, making that the strings to try to change the trajectory of this being a spy movie and more of a revenge assassination drug movie. To me, it's like if you were to take a Batman movie and say, instead of Batman fighting crime in Gotham, Batman's going to stop a meteorite, right? Like that's the kind of thinking this movie does with the character. It's like, well, we're going to instead of putting our hero, James Bond, in a plot that either deals with the Cold War with the Russians or a melomaniac guy who wants to pit people against each other or destroy the world, whatever. Instead, we're going to have him fight drug cartel. That's the one weird thing about this movie that really kind of, I watch it. I don't hate the movie. It just slightly turns me off about it. It doesn't feel like a James Bond movie.
Bond is a spy, and that's kind of what we need to discuss here. Bond's a spy, and Goldfinger and From Russia with Love have all the spy craft, but he's also an assassin, and this is a full-blooded assassination plot. So it's hard to say it's not a Bond movie when it has not only all the Bond elements.
You will accept my resignation, effective forthwith.
Just like in Secret Service, it's him quitting the service because he wants to go take care of some personal business. In On Her Majesty's Secret Service, he had no reason to quit. He just, for some reason, wanted to go after... We talked about how him wanting to go after Blofeld would have made more sense if Blofeld had already killed his wife. With this, we have that. We have... And it's all sold in that moment where he screams out, Della.
Della!
It's all Tim Dalton. The guy nails the emotionality that you want for that, like you were saying in the last episode, McCurdy, that when Saunders dies, and in that moment, Tim Dalton rocks. But for you, you're saying, I don't care about Saunders. With this, that moment that he has with Della, full props to Tim Dalton for nailing that.
With the last movie, people will criticize me and be like, well, yeah, but they have that moment. I'm like, yes, but that is all built off the fact that Saunders is this, like, book, whatever you want to call him. He's just
butthead. He's a butthead.
He's just a butthead
By
the
the books
entire
guy.
time until that scene prior when he actually helps Bond. And then you're just like, good,
Yeah, you're right that it turns on a dime.
good on him. But this movie, Della, at the first time we see Della, the first time we see Felix, we know that Bond loves these guys, like, in a very endearing thing, because Felix is like his buddy that he's had throughout all these adventures.
The American CIA sent a man down to work, Mr. Engways. A fellow by the name of Leiter. Do you know him?
I heard of him.
Also, obviously the first scene we see with him and Della, it's like, yeah, they have this really interesting relationship.
Mwah. That's a custom. You see, the bride always gets to kiss her best man.
I thought it was the other way around.
What do they call that again? They call it a thruple. A couple that's three people is a thruple, and so maybe Bond, Felix, and Della had a thruple going on.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But we know that Bond cares, and like, if I'm going to talk well about this movie, one thing I really like about it goes back to one of my favorite Bond movies, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, because there's that scene where
The next one who catches this is the next one who...
No. Thanks, Stella. It's time I left.
Oh, James. Did I say something wrong?
He was married once, but it was a long time ago.
McCurdy gets his Tracy Bond reference.
he knows it's a gesture of goodwill, but like, it's a lot of, that means a lot to him, because that's a lot of pent up emotions, because he knows that, like, I was married, it didn't end well.
Many lady friends, but married only once. Wife killed.
All right, you've made your point.
You're sensitive, Mr. Bond.
About certain things, yes.
And so when Della gets killed, it's like reliving all of that over again.
Stella!
It's Tracy.
Totally.
He's now dead again. Della's his Della, in a way, he's looking at it like, this happened to my buddy Felix. I dealt with this. Sanchez is going down. You know what I mean? Like, that's the best thing about this movie, I think, for sure. I won't argue with that.
It's all communicated in that look when he, Della, and runs in. That is such a heavy moment, even for Della, who we haven't known for more than 5 minutes, but it works so well because of Big Timmy Bond. He's just rock steady. Again, though, I will reiterate my point that Della lasted a lot longer than Tracy did. Tracy was about 15 minutes. They also handle the moment with a little more class, probably a lot more class, because first off, it's not that big a deal, but I've just never really liked that they have some donut cop pull up next to him. And then they put this sad music over, and it's a really emotional moment. And then it's like 2, 3, 4. And Tracy is dead. She's dead. She's dead. She's dead. And Tracy's dead. Tracy's dead. Tracy is dead. She's fucking dead. Tracy's dead. And you're walking out of the theater going, what? What's happening? But with this, it's heavy. And then he goes in the next room and he finds his best friend. And he thinks he's dead too, and then he finds the note. I will say, though, that the odd thing about all of that, because I think that's all handled so well, the weird thing is that fast forward to the end of the movie, and Bond has just completed his vendetta. He's covered in blood and all that, and he's, I've avenged Della. And then he's on the phone with Felix, and Felix is like, hey, buddy, did you take out that guy who killed my wife?
I'll be up to see you next week. We'll do some fishing.
Good. I'll be out by then. M called.
He tried to reach you.
Hey, can I get some Jell-O in here, please? Yeah. Hey, so anyway, we're going to go fishing soon, right?
Oh, my God.
There should have been a scene where he goes and visits Felix and he says, I got him. I got him, buddy. And the two of them have a moment, but instead, hey, buddy, we're going to go on vacation. So, right, we'll probably get some too, right? I mean, I'm single again. Why not? Hey, can you bring Lupe and that other big bosom you've been on an adventure with? Maybe we'll all go fishing with Sharky. Oh, no, Sharky's dead. We got to find a new coral to take us fishing. It's so weird. It's such a weird ending.
I knew I was like going into this and I'm like, God damn it, Charlie's just going to like be huge boner for this movie, for the story. And I'm not disagreeing with any of your points when it comes to that specific part of the story.